Hello and welcome back to the Long Island Railroad Montauk branch. This is going to be a quick layout update to show you some of the things I've done in the last few months when I wasn't working on the diorama that nobody watched. And I also took a little break and made a couple of model airplanes. So I was digging through this old sea chest that my father gave me. I've had it for a long time. Let's just put it at that. And I don't remember what I was looking for, but I happened upon a couple of old 1/72nd scale airplane models. I used to make airplane models, but gosh, it's been at least 15 years since I've made one. So these boxes were at least that old. So I decided, well, let's finally finish them off. So I made these two models. So the first one was this F-11F, obviously a Navy fighter, 1/72nd scale airfix model. It went together pretty easy. The decals, being so old, were very fragile, very difficult getting the decals placed, hardest part of the whole model. And the other one was this, it's a Italieri, also 1/72nd scale F-84 Thunderstreak, the one with the bent wings as opposed to the straight wings. This one was also pretty easy to put together, but the decals, oh my God, they were even worse. What a nightmare that was. So I guess the lesson is, if you're going to make an airplane model, make it soon. Don't let it sit. All right, that's enough of that. So anyway, first thing I wanted to show you was that I did some work over here in this corner, collecting all my Foscale wooden harbor craft in this one corner. All I really did was I built that little platform there, put the ladder, built the load on the crane, and built some little bumpers, fenders, whatever you want to call them, the logs tied together there to have the boat so they can bump up against something other than the concrete wall, which is usually bad. So I think it makes this corner look a little more active, gives it a little more purpose. And I don't know if I had done this previously, but I added these, I don't know what you'd call them, lifting bar mechanisms, rigs for picking up the copper anodes. So each one of the bars goes on either side of the anodes, and that's how they pick them up. So they have to keep the anodes separate. So this is something that's always bothered me when I was looking at the pictures and researching this, is how did they pick them up when they're all piled together like that? So they had to keep them separated into manageable bits somehow. So I figured they used blocks of wood to do that. And I still need to do some work on the barge here to make that all look a little better. So kind of like that. You see down there, I figured they might lean them up against a big concrete block like that, and then put pieces of wood in between them. Keep them separated into manageable bits. Each one of these weighs, what did I say, 11¼ tons, something like that. So it's just barely enough for a forklift like that. It's probably too much for that forklift, but we're just going to pretend that it isn't. And then you can take 4 of those and fit them on a flat car or a gondola or something. So anyway, I did that. And I also got these 2 50-foot gondolas. I'll take the covers off eventually. For transporting the anodes will get unloaded from the barge and then loaded directly into the gondolas, and then moved over to the factory, which is down there. So that's the only interesting thing that I did here. And continuing along the waterfront, I made this a barge, which is, again, it's exactly the same plan as for that one, except this one has a well deck, obviously. It's based on an article in Model Railroader from a few years ago, and if I was a courteous video maker, I would go get that article and tell you what it was and what issue, but I'm not, so deal with it, sorry. So it came out really nice. I like it. And then I guess one of the major things I did is after my frustration with the narrow gauge stuff, I tore that all out and replaced it with full gauge. So the way this works now is that the whole area is accessed by that switch right there, and it comes down, and the coal gets delivered by the barge, lifted into the either, I guess, directly into the cars or into the little waiting bin there. And then this engine will take the coal and bring it on down this way. It's getting darker, sorry. Don't have light set up down here. And take it all the way down to here, where it will get dumped into the dumps and then proceed by these conveyor into the furnace, where it will get burned to power the entirety of the Phelps Dodge copper refinery facility down here. Okay, I've moved the light so you can see everything a little bit better. It's actually kind of glary. Let me adjust that somewhat. I guess that's better. Anyway, I had to change this entire building because the spacing on the walls just wasn't right anymore after I took out the narrow gauge track. So each one of these pieces, this one right here and this one right here, I had to narrow them. So I had to redo all the walls. I had to take this, the roof part, and then subsequently make it shorter. So it required a lot of surgery, but it all came out just fine. In fact, that I think it looks even better, I think, than it used to. I added the little railing there to keep the peoples from falling off into the tracks. I did a lot of work on the overhead crane, spacing it more correctly. And then finally, I scratch built the entire conveyor system. This is something that I recommend you do, is do not try to make a square tube out of styrene. It's literally impossible. What this is a half-inch square piece of balsa wood that I skinned with 0.010 styrene. It's so much easier that way. I mean, I'm not going to say it was easy, but it is so much easier. And then in order to make it so that it would come apart, in case I wanted to move it or clean it or something happened, this piece right here actually is not fixed. It just hides the connection. See, it's actually not connected right there. This piece is a little clever piece of disguise there. But I made it look nice, put a little hatch on top so you can access it if things go wrong. Now the uprights probably should have a few more like diagonals, and maybe I'll add those later. But as it is, it's just sitting there. It's not glued in at all. And I had to fill in these two bits of wall right here. Put a hole in one so that the conveyor could go in there. But I'm pretty happy with it. And then, of course, I had to do the groundwork too. It needs a few more, I don't know, little bits and doodads and things lying around, some more junk, basically. But for now, I'm done. I think I am done. Done in that if the average person came in here and looked at it, they'd say, yeah, this is done. Whereas the rest of us know by looking at it, it's like, oh, I need to do so much. I need to do this and that and this and that. Not yet. I'm going to let it sit for a little while, work on something else. Now, I like to use Blue Point switch machines, but one thing about them is, you see this switch is so close to the edge of the board, I could not fit the switch machine in so that it was directly below there. So I had to add a little extension on right there, and the switch machine is actually under right here. And so it kind of works remotely, but it still works just fine. And then this switch down here, which is the main switch coming, well, the switch that comes off the main line, there is so much stuff, wood, basically, framing members underneath the board right in this area that I could not get a rod to go from there to the edge. So I had to make that an automatic switch, even though I didn't want it to. So it's got a tortoise machine under there. And works just like all the other tortoise machines. With my incredibly funky switches. I gotta figure something out about that. I also made this track, the front track. It's the storage track for the engine. And this is a good practice. I always try to isolate all the storage tracks so that if there's ever a power surge, all the locomotives on the layout that are just sitting there not being used will be protected. So I have a little isolation, a little switch right here, just a single pole, single throw switch, keep the power off. And here's a view of the Phelps Dodge facility with all the lights on, all lit up. Looks pretty good. Like I said, it still needs some more doodads and bits, but for being completely scratch built, except for the other overhead crane, of course. I know I'm patting myself on the back a little too much here. Okay, I'll back down. It's okay. It's acceptable. It needs work. But it'll do for now. I also made these inserts for gondolas for carrying copper coils, which is the product of the Phelps Dodge Refinery, mostly. And the way it works is the copper coils just fit right in the little slots like that. And in real life, these crossbars are adjustable so that you can, depending on the width of the copper coil, you can fit in different sizes. And each one of these will fit 4 of these copper coils, which are commercially available. I don't know where I got them. So just like that. Oh, by the way, I made these based on a picture, this picture. And this picture is in this Kalmbach published book. Excellent book. Recommend anything Jeff Wilson writes. He's really good. All right, here's what it looks like when it's actually set up in the gondola. So in here, it looks a lot better. The lighting's not as harsh. Okay, let me put the coils in it. And there we go, 4 copper coils ready for delivery to somebody who needs copper coils. And one final thing I wanted to show you. You can see it back there through the trees. It's that cute little trailer. It's actually a wooden kit, and I did not know that when I bought it, but it came out acceptably. So it's I don't know, security guard, whatever, back there at the end of the parking lot. Here, I'll bring it out so you can take a better look at it. Now the sides is it's actually a decal that came with it, and possibly the top. I don't know. It's mostly decal, I think. But I painted it too. Added a bunch of the rust and some weathering. So it's kind of cute. It was inexpensive, so it was probably worth the money. And I have it set up back there so he has a little picnic table that he can eat at. Everything on that picnic table, at least I think everything on it, I scratch built just out of bits of styrene. But the picnic table came with the trailer. The trailer, it also has a little awning that can be put on it, but the awning did not look good, so I left it off. All right, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate all of you that watch and all of you that comment. It makes my heart soar like a bird. So, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Long Island Railroad Montauk branch.